But let's get into our show tonight.
Let's do it.
Why
Tom
not?
Thumb and the Fingers.
Tom Thumb and the Fingers. All right. And understand that at least one of them is listening. Could be 2 or 3. But thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Thank you for listening, guys.
All right. Gip Hodges and Stan Addison were arbitrarily assigned as locker mates at North Salem High School in 1963, and a friendship soon began. The British invasion started shortly after, and creating a interest in learning to play musical instruments. Stan started taking piano lessons while Gip took drum lessons. The two decided to play together in hopes of someday forming a rock and roll band. They soon found that drums overwhelmed the piano in volume, but continued practicing anyway. On a trip to Glendale Beach on the Oregon coast with Stan's parents, they heard a band playing at a nearby bar. Since they couldn't go inside, they moved garbage cans from behind the bar to the windows so that they could stand on them and look inside.
Wow.
They watched the rock and roll band called the Majestics. They learned that an amplified organ could hold its own with drums in the terms of volume.
Yes, it can. And so in early 1964, they heard a fellow student named Bill Shuck playing guitar in a North Salem High School talent show. And afterwards, they invited him to practice sessions that they were having. So Bill, Gip, and Stan practiced regularly. They would listen to their favorite records, learn how to play the songs by ear. It was obvious a bass guitar player, you know what I mean, was necessary to complete the band. Bill recalled taking guitar lessons along with a South Salem High School student by the name of Rich Gaddy. So, Bill and Stan went to Rich's home, asked him if he still played guitar. Now, these weren't 45-year-old Rhodes Scholars. These were high school kids. You know, these were not anybody that had won any accolades nationally. These were high school kids.
But doing a pretty good job, sounds like.
Doing a pretty good job. But this is how a lot of bands formed.
Right.
I'm talking Beatles, Paul Revere, and the Raiders from the Northwest. Many of them that gained worldwide attention formed in exactly the same way. And so anyway, so Bill and Stan went to Rich's home, asked him if he still played guitar. And Rich played a couple of songs using his mother's small amplifier and a Les Paul guitar. And they told him, well, man, you're a great guitar player. They wanted this guy to join the band, but you know what they really needed? Bass guitar. So Bill and Stan convinced Rich to give the Les Paul back to Mama and buy a bass guitar and an amp with a little more power.
No, really, huh? That's interesting. The band added another North Salem High School student named Steve Kemp to play saxophone, and by late 1964, they were ready to start playing gigs. Sometimes this newly formed band of Salem teens rented available venues and promoted themselves with posters and radio ads and hired off-duty police to watch the door. They often made money, but sometimes lost it in the process. As word of mouth spread, they were hired by promoters, charitable organizations, high schools, sororities, and others. The venues were as varied as gymnasiums, churches, YMCAs, YWCAs, VFW halls, armories, and even parking lots. Most dances were in the Willamette Valley, and furthest distances ever traveled was to Prineville and Hood River.
Well, that's pretty far to me, dude. And
Yeah.
the first dances they played, they called themselves the Fugitives. Huh? Now, the name quickly became a problem because they heard that there were other Northwest bands with the same name. Oops.
Ouch.
And, yeah, maybe the television series The Fugitive was a big deal at that point, and so there may have been some other bands using the name The Fugitives. So investigating the idea of getting a legal trademark on the name Fugitives, oh well, Portland band already had a copyright on the damn name The Fugitives. A local guitarist founding member of Salem's Breakaways was a guy named Don Broad, and he suggested the name Tom Thumb and the Four Fingers. You got a thumb, you got four fingers.
Why
Ain't
not?
that neat?
Sounds like a hand to me.
But you know,
Okay.
the band better have 5 members, otherwise you can't have Tom Thumb and the Four Fingers. And
Okay.
who plays Tom Thumb? And so there was no real Tom Thumb in the band, but they tried out the name. They ran into new issues. There was a series of saxophone players and singers that joined the band, left the band, so the number of quote-unquote fingers maybe fluctuated a little up and a little down. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it was eventually decided the name of the band would be shortened to Tom Thumb and the Fingers. And the group enjoyed a lot of success throughout. Now, the genesis of this band, folks, was in early 1964, and they were high school kids. Late 63, the first two of them kind of were thrust together as locker mates. I had that in high school, didn't you?
Of course,
Assigned a locker mate, and ain't that neat? They became friends, and this 63, late 63, and early 64, they got a couple other people involved. Late 64, started playing gigs, and apparently enjoyed success through 65 and 66, including weekly and sometimes back-to-back nights at various locations.
And some of their bookings included dates with Ed Doherty, EJD Enterprises, and working with acts like Paul Revere and the Raiders, the Sonics, and the Liverpool Five. Tom Thumb and the Fingers also played at the grand opening of the IGA store in Sweet Home, Oregon, where the Thriftway is now located. Stan Addison recalls playing outside in the parking lot to the mostly enthusiastic crowd, but some older patrons were confused and held their hands over their ears. They realized very early in the event that they needed to turn the volume way down on everything. Most patrons had never heard music that loud. Also, the police kindly asked them to turn down the noise. Noise? What? Because they were creating a traffic hazard by disturbing motorists on Main Street. All in the crowd appreciated them, and they attracted several onlookers in addition to many shoppers.
Wow. The band won first prize at the Salem Payless Battle of the Bands in 1966. First two guys, locker mates in late 63, right? So now it's 66, and they're doing pretty well. They recorded a demo 45 at Connolly Studios in Salem, Oregon. That was March 20th in 1966. One song entitled You Better Believe It was a cover of a Wailers song. The flip side was It's All Right By Me, cover of a Zombies song. And even though these were cover songs, their hope was to generate greater regional interest in the band. Peak of their popularity was late 1966. Things changed drastically due to the Vietnam War. Some members voluntarily joined the military service with the draft pursuing them. Yes, yes, and yes. Some of my friends did too. I chose to go through the draft lottery for 2 years. I got high numbers and was not drafted into the military. But in that era, Don, there were many folks, including some of the band, that chose to join rather than be drafted. And
well, that gave you a choice of what you joined.
Yeah. So anyway, reuniting some members only occurred when they were on military leave and the others could be assembled. The actual last dance that they played was sometime in 1967. So after leaving the Navy a few years later, Gipp continued playing drums professionally with other bands, actually for many decades. The rest of the band went in directions that might have been other than music. So Tom Thumb and the Fingers occasionally reunite to this day to rekindle friendships, have a burger and a beverage maybe, but not in many years to play music. Remains to be seen.
Okay.
They also keep fond memories of a golden time in music that we visit every Friday night at 9 o'clock. And their venues, some of them are not here now.
Right.
But the opportunities for teen bands just were huge.
And
just erupted.
And we understand all the band members are still with us, and it's our pleasure to feature them tonight. Thank you very much for the ones that are able to tune in and listen. We appreciate it. Now we have some music from them to enjoy. Listen to and enjoy.
We're going back to 64 through 67. I'm not sure when exactly these sides were recorded, but the great Tom Thumb and the Fingers, You Better Believe It. Cover originally done by the Wailers, recorded at Connolly Recording Studio in Salem, Oregon. All Right by Me, cover of a Zombies song recorded at Connolly Studios, and No Use for You, a song written by the band, recorded at a rehearsal. So let's turn back the clock to the golden era. We're looking at Tom Thumb and the Fingers. Here are You Better Believe It, All Right by Me, No Use for You, 92.7, 92.1.
You better believe it, how much I've changed since I met her. You better believe it, I'm not the same since I met this girl. I used to be all alone, I had no place to go but home. But now everything's alright, I have a place to go tonight. You better believe it, how much love she has for me. You better believe it, that this girl could ever be so fine, so fine. And I know that her love is mine. Oh yeah. I used to be oh so shy and never know the reason why, until she came to me and showed me what her love could be. She opened up my eyes and made me realize that I don't have to be lonely anymore. You better believe it, how much I've changed since I met her. You better believe it, I'm not the same since I met this girl. I used to be all alone, I had no place to go but home. But now everything's alright, I have a place to go tonight. You better believe it, oh yeah, you better believe it. Oh yeah, you better believe it. Oh yeah, you better believe it. Maximum music.
You found the right station, sweet home.
It's 92.7.
If you wanna
touch that dial, you're set to
92.7.
Sweet Home Radio.
It's alright, and it's all over, and it's happened. We will do. It's alright, it's all over, and we'll do. Because I ain't got no use for you. When you said it was over, then I let you over. There was nothing else I could do. I didn't mean to cry, girl, but I took you back. Girl, I saw that you were so blue. Then you say that you live, but you know what it leaves me. So there's nothing else I can do. Because I ain't got no use for you. But that's alright. It's all over. Ain't I happy? I'm real too. It's alright. It's all over and we're through. Because I ain't got no use for you. It's alright. It's all over. And it's happy. I really do. It's alright. It's all over and we're through. Because I ain't got no use for you. Oh, well, it's alright. It's all over. And it's happy. We will do. It's alright. It's all over and we're through. Because I ain't got no use for you. No use for you.
Well, right.
Hello.
What?
I don't know.
There's something going on back there. I'm not sure what that is, but anyway, no use for you. Band original.
We got Lawrence Welk's Ghost in the background.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know.
He's haunting the place. but,
No use for you. Interesting. More than one or two singers.
Yeah.
It was a band original.
During a rehearsal, apparently.
Well done.
Well
And,
done. Very well done. I liked it.
You know, I'm gonna say that probably was my favorite.
Yeah, I agree.
And
100%.
It is a close one for me. With the second song, "All Right by Me,"
Cover
I thought the
by
first song could
Zombies.
have had better production by Connolly Studios. But that's just me. Now, I thought the second song was pretty cool. And that would have been my pick until I heard the third song. I thought that was exuberant. It was raw rock and roll, and that was what the country was all about in 64, 65, 66. Started with the British invasion, but the idea of, raw rock and roll
Yeah.
that you would have heard in 1954, you would have heard in 1956 with Elvis. Raw rock and roll had kind of been lost. You know what I mean? And we got it back again in 64, 65, and so, No Use for You, to me, had that raw rock and roll exuberance that I really like.
The great sound of the early rock and roll, absolutely. You're a little bit older than I, so you are able to express some of that stuff, sure. And I agree with you, though. No Use for You, absolutely. My choice as well. So thank you, Mr. Chuck. Appreciate it. A great choice for a featured band tonight.
And I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that Don and I don't always agree.
No,
But yeah, we do on this one.
on this one for sure. So, enjoyed the featured band tonight, Tom, Thumb, and the Fingers.